last week we finished to understand how to process two-dimensional arrays. Okay. So in this example, we have four kind of examples. First, how we initialize the array with input values. And then we can ask the user to input, and we can put every numbers, or in this case, integer number, and we are going to put it into the matrix index row and column. If you are going to use math random, then okay, yeah, I got your message. So if you are using a math random, let's say you want to have a random number in between 0 until 100. Then you can use math random, multiply 100, and then the number will be casted into integer. So it means you want to change the double into integer. If you want to print the arrays, then you can use just print. So every of the column will be in the same line. But after you finish with the row, you can use print line. So the next row will be in the next line. If you want to sum all the elements, then you will have a new variable which is total, and then for every row and column, you're going to put as a summation into the variable total. So those for loop are the same, always the same. Okay. And now if you are going to sum the elements by column, so we know that a matrix is something like table. And then I want to, for example, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 5. And I want to sum by the column. So 2 plus 1, it is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. And then 4 plus 5, it is 9. Then how can we make the code? So I will make it a little bit. Okay, Yarim. Yeah, I got your message. So I can just change a little bit about the code. First, I would like to start with column. So the column will be first, and then I will do with the row. So row 1, and then row 2, and then I will just do the summation, and after that I will get the total. I print the total. And then again, I will go to the next column, and then I will check the element. This is 3, and then this is 2. Then I will do the total again, and then I will print 5. And then I will go to the next column, and then I will check this element, and then I will check this element, and then I will do the total. Then it will print the result. So this is how we can do sum all the elements by the column. Now let's see how the two-dimensional arrays can work with methods. There's one example, pass two-dimensional array. In the pass two-dimensional array, you see this code. Now you can see in the examples, okay, especially in this section, the code now is getting longer. Okay. So if you miss some part, then please try to review so you can catch up if you are not familiar with some of these terms. For example, here in the main function or in the main method, I would like to make one array. What is this array? This is two-dimensional array. Why it is two-dimensional array? Because we have two square brackets. So we have two square brackets. And what we can do next is to check this variable m, and this variable m is a number that we can get from get array. What is this get array? We can go to this get array method. You can look at this outline. So how many methods do we have? We have three methods. The first method is min. The second method is get array. And the third method is sum. Okay. Now let's see the get array. If you see this void, okay, I hope that you still remember what is void. Void is a method without any return value. And then we have integer with two square brackets. Then it will return a two-dimensional array. So I'm going to do the scanner. I'm going to get the input from the users. So I will like to have a matrix 3 and 4. So it means we have 3 rows and 4 columns. I'm going to input for every element because this one is next int. It means I will get the input from users. After I got all the information for each of these elements, then we will return m. So m will go to the variable m in the main method. Okay. So we know that this m is a two-dimensional array. So this two-dimensional array has been defined here, and we want to put all the elements into this variable. Now I would like to sum all the elements. The summation takes place on this method. I have sum and I have one parameter. The parameter is m, which is the data. So if you go here and then if you press Control, okay, if you press Control, then you can see a thumbnail. If you press Control in your keyboard and you can see thumbnail, and then you can go to the method. And you can see this method is using public static int. What does it mean by int? We want to return an integer value. So I would like to sum all the elements from the two-dimensional array, which is m, and then I will do what we already saw in the examples in the PowerPoint. So I'm going to start from the row equals to 0 until the length, and then I'm going to start the column from 0 until the length of the row, and then I'm going to do the summation for all elements. And I'm going to put it into the variable total, and the total starts from 0. So the total will be written, and we will show it here. So using this program, you have two methods. And then the first method is returning two-dimensional array, and the second method is returning only integer value, but it has one parameter, which is two-dimensional array. Then if you run, okay, enter 3 rows and 4 columns, because we have determined the row size is 3 and the column size is 4. So I will input, for example, 1 1 1 1, and then 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Okay, so sum of all the elements is 12, because we have 3 multiplied by 4. If all elements are 1, then it means we have the summation equals to 12. Okay, so this is the way to pass the two-dimensional array. I guess it is the same with the methods that we learned before, but we just use the data. If it is integer, then you can just put integer. But if it is integer with one-dimensional array, you can put integer with the one-dimensional array. If you have integer with two-dimensional array, then you can use this way. Now, there is another problem. We can use two-dimensional array to check multiple choice tests. What does it mean by multiple choice? Let's say you do the quiz in the online exam, okay, and you do the quiz when I give you the quiz. So you will see the problem. There are like 4 answers. You need to choose whether the answer is A or B or C or D. So the student 0 answers A on the problem 0. And the student 0 answer B on the problem 1. Student 0 answer A to the problem 2, and so on. So this is the answer of student 1. Sorry, student 0. Now I need to check all these answers according to the key. The key means this is the correct answer. I have D, B. This D means this is the correct answer for the problem 0. B is the correct answer for problem 1. Then we need to check if this answer the same with this one, then it is correct. Then you will get 1 point. But if it is not correct, then it is wrong. So you will get 0. Okay. Now we want to know what is the grade for every student. How we can know the point for every student. If you check this one, A is not the same with D, so 0. B the same with D, yes, 1. A with D, no, 0. C and C, okay, plus 1, then it means 2. C and C, okay, plus 1, it means 3. D and D, okay, correct, then plus 1, it is 4. E and A, okay, it is not the same, 0. E and E, it is the same, plus 1 is 5. A and A, correct, then plus 1, 6. And then D and D, plus 1, 7. So the score for the student 0 is 7. Now, how can we do this one? You can check on the problem grid exam. Okay, now the data has been provided. You can see the answers, and the first row means the answer for student 0. The second row means the answers of student 1. The third one is the answers of student 2, and so on. I will put it into two-dimensional array. This is two-dimensional array. And all of them are character. Now, I have the answers from all the students, and I can create the keys. The keys means this is the correct answer. So I have the correct answer is D, B, D, and so on. I need to check all the grid. So we can make the answers just only with 10 lines. With only 10 lines of Java code, we can get how the student 0 get the point, and so on. So we can do with for loop. In the for loop, we have 0 until the length of the answers. And then we are going to create for every of the student. We will do with the correct count. If it is starting with 0, then we will check for every of the student answer. So the answers, if the answers of I, j equals to the key j, what is this? J means the column. So if the key j, which is D, equals to the answer of 0j, it means this one. So A is the same with D. If it is the same, then correct count plus plus. So I will add 1 to see the correct answer of the student. And then it will be repeated until all the answers. And at the end, we want to print for the student. And for every student, it will be printed here. So the program will give you the result. The student 0 correct count is 7. Student 1 correct count is 6. And then 5, 4, 8, 7, 7, 7. So we know that the maximum score is 8, and student 4 achieved the maximum score. Okay, then this is about the grading. This is how we can apply with the two-dimensional array. We can also do with the two-dimensional array to find 2 points nearest to each other. I think you learn on the mathematics how we can get the distance, or how we can find the 2 points nearest to each other. So we need to calculate the distance. I have this point. I have this point. This point, this point, this point, this, and this, and this. So in total, there are 8 points. Now, I want to find which point is the nearest to another point. You need to check the distance from here to here. We need to check the distance from here to here. We need to check the distance from here to here. We need to check the distance from here to here. We need to check the distance here to here, and so on. So we need to check the distance for every point to another point. How we can measure the distance? We can just use the simple equation like this one. We know SQRT. It is the square root. The square root means we have the square root of x2 minus x1, and we want to put it as a square, plus y2 minus y1, and then we put it into the square. And then at the end, we will do the square root of this summation. So using this formula, we can get a one value, and that value is the distance. So let's see this example. Find nearest point. So now the program is getting longer and longer. I have one main function, and then I have one function which is distance. So in the distance, we have four parameters: x1, y1, x2, y2. In the distance method, I have this function. So I hope that you already remember math.sqrt means I want to get the square root. And we do the formula like this one: x2 minus x1 multiplied by x2 minus x1. So this is the same with the x2 minus x1 power of 2. Okay. And then we also do the same, this one, y2 minus y1 multiply y2 minus y1. So y2 minus y1, and we have square. We do the summation, and then we will do the square root. This is the distance, and we want to do the program step by step. The first step is to get the scanner, and then I need to enter the number of points. So how many points that I want to insert? Let's say based on this problem, we have 8 points. Then you can say that I have 8 points. And then for every point, there will be 2 positions. What is the position? The first is the x, and the other is y. So we have x and y. It means we have 2 elements, or we have 2 locations. That's why we have number of points, and we have 2 locations. So it will be in the 2-dimensional array, and then we will make the value as double. Okay, double. Print, enter the number of points, and then I will ask the user to input for every point. 0 means this is the value of x, and 1 means the value of y. Meanwhile, the I is the number or the point itself. So if it is 0, then it is the point 0. If it is 1, then it is point 1, and so on. I'm going to find the shortest distance. Before I'm going to find the shortest distance, I need to make one comparison. So the comparison, I assume that the initial 2 points, which is P1 is 0 and the P2 is 1, I assume that this is the shortest distance. After I have this shortest distance, what can we do next is checking for every possible distance. Here I will do the for loop. I will loop from 0 until the length, and then from I plus 1 until the length, and I'm going to check the distance. The next is if the shortest distance is greater than the current distance, then let's update it. What is the meaning by update? So the new value or the new shortest distance, the point 1 will be the I, and then the point 2 will be the J. So these two will be the shortest one. So the shortest distance will be the same with the current distance. After you have this function, I can say that this is to compute the distance for every 2 points. And at the end, we will display the results. So displaying the result means I want to see what is the closest 2 points. So this is the P1, 0, P1, 1. It means this is the X, this is the Y, and then this is the X, and this is the Y. If you check, okay, I will run, enter the number of points. So I will input 8 numbers, enter 8 points. So minus 1, 3, and then minus 1, and minus 1, and then 1 and 1, and then 2 and 0.5, and then 2 and minus 1, and then 3 and 3, and then 4 and 2, and then 4 and minus 0.5. And the program will give you the answer. What is the closest 2 points? The closest 2 point is the points between 1.1 and 2.0.1. So let's see. The closest 2 point is this one. Okay. This is the closest one based on the distance measured. So occasionally, so sometimes, you will need to represent n-dimensional data structures. What does it mean, n? N means any integer number. So in Java, you can create n-dimensional array for any integer n. The way to declare 2-dimensional array variables and create 2-dimensional arrays can be generalized to declare n-dimensional array variables and create n-dimensional array for n which is greater or equal than 3. For example, the following syntax declares a 3-dimensional array variable scores. So I have this variable scores. I have 1, 2, 3. So it means I have 3 dimensions. And the first will have the size 10, the second will have the size 5, and the third will have the size 2. Now, my question is, let's make an example. If I want to make 3 dimension, then I will have 3 like this one. I have 3 square bracket. What about if I have 4 dimension? Then you can put one more. What about if I have 5 dimension? We can put one more. Okay. Of course, you can make until whatever you want. But if you increase this dimension, the complexity is also increased. So it will be more difficult to understand your data. Okay. So please, you can just limit the number of dimensions. You don't need to have a very big dimension, even though Java can also use that big number of n. Okay, the last part in this PowerPoint is about array list. What is the meaning by array list? A simple array list with string and integer data type. In the Java, there is one collection framework. And in the collection frameworks, they have sets, lists, and maps. What are they? I will not define all of them in this class. So I will, if you join the data structure and algorithms, there will be some explanation what is set, what is list, and what is map. So I will not explain in detail, but I'm just want to share. I just want to share that I will just introduce the basic data structure. In this case, I'm going to use array list. So the array list, or people can say also about list. So it is a part of list. The array list is a class with a resizable array. Do you know the meaning by resizable? Resizable means if you know the array, I have integer scores equals to new integer, and you need to define what is the value for the size. Okay, I want to set the size is 5, and then I want to set the size is 7. Then you have 5 and 7. However, if I want to increase the value when you run the program, let's say, okay, I don't have enough place to put the score because new students come. So I need to expand. Then you need to expand here. You need to maybe increase into 6,7. And then if you want to increase again, what happens? You need to change again in this definition. So maybe becoming 7 and 7. Oops, sorry. So every time you need to increase, you need to set up the size in the beginning. Array list is different. In the array list, it is resizable. So you do not need to set up the size. You can just use the list and then use any data or any elements that you want to use. When you try to declare the array list, you need to import. I guess you know the java.util. When you use scanner, you also include the java.util.scanner. For the array list, it is also under the java.util, and you can just use java.util.arraylist. And then I'm going to define the array list. In this case, let's say I'm going to have cars. So I want to put cars into an array. Maybe I have BMW, and then I have Hyundai, and then I have Kia, and then I have Mercedes. So this BMW is index 0, Hyundai is index 1, Kia is index 2, Mercedes is index 3, and so on. So I can have an array. But I'm now using array list, and I need to define what is the data type. Okay, the data type is string. So when you define with the array list, you need to use array list and using the triangle bracket. Inside of this triangle bracket, you need to define what is the data type. You can use string, or you can use integer, or you can use double, and any data type here. Now let's use string for the first time. I would like to have a new variable name is cars, and then I would like to make it as a new array list. And this array list will be using the data type string. And then don't forget to put the parenthesis to make it as an object. Okay. This is how we define the array list. And whenever we want to add the element, we can use the function add. There is a function add, and we will call the variable name, and using the dot add. I'm going to put the first car is Volvo. Because it is the first, then I know that this is index 0. And then I'm going to add another car, which is BMW. And I know this is the second, so this will be in the index 1. I'm adding the new car, which is Ford, and it will be index 2. I'm adding new car, which is Mazda, and it will be in the index 3. Okay. How to access? If you use the array, you will use cars and then with the square bracket. Let's say I'm going to access the index 0. So you will use cars, square bracket, 0. In array list, you need to use the function get. In this case, I'm going to get the index 0. And I can change the item. Let's say I'm going to change the index 0. The original value is Volvo, and I'm going to change it into Opel. So I'm just setting index 0 with a new value, which is Opel. If I want to remove an item, I can just remove. Let's say I want to remove the index 0. So remove 0 means the index 0 will be deleted. If I use clear, then it is to remove all the items. I can also check every element of this list using size. I know I have 4 elements. Then if I check the size, then it will have 4, the number will be 4. And if I know the size, I can do loop. It means I want to check for every of the car from index 0 until the car size, and I'm going to print the cars dot get I. So every index I equals to 0, then I will print the index 0. If I is 1, then it will print index 1. If I is 2, then it will print index 2 until the size of the variable cars. And there is another for loop that I want to teach you is the for each loop. What is for each loop? I know that cars is an array list and the data type is string. So I will just call the data type, which is string, and then I'm using a variable which is I. Yeah, you can define any variable, and I want to get for every element in the car. So I want to get of every string element in the cars and put it into the variable I. So when I print I, it will show every of the cars that I have inserted. So let's see this example. Simple array list. Okay. I have array list string, and then I'm going to add the elements. The first is Volvo, the second is BMW, the third is Ford, and the fourth is Mazda. And I'm going to print for every of the cars. After I print for every of the cars, I want to change cars index 0 into Opel. And then I want to remove the index 0. Okay, let me have this one. So the first, we have 4 cars. And after we have 4 cars, okay, we set the index 0 to Opel, but at the end we remove index 0. So there is no index 0, there is no Volvo, there is no Opel, but we just have only 3 cars, BMW, Ford, and Mazda. Now I do not want to use this one. I put the code here, so you can open this one. This is something like this one. For the string, okay, so I have the cars, which is a string, and I want to check what is the element in the cars. So the result will be the same. Volvo, BMW, Ford, and Mazda. And then Volvo, BMW, Ford, and Mazda. Now I set the index 0 to Opel. Then let me check what is the result. Then you can see that the first car is changed to Opel. And then the second still is the same, BMW, Ford, and Mazda. After I remove this one, yeah, if you want to check one more time, you want to check one more time, then you will see that the remaining car will become 3. The last one becomes BMW, Ford, and Mazda. Okay. So the last one, examples in the last part is about the integer. If you are using integer value, then you will have the array list, and then you can define with integer. Note that this one, you should have the big I, okay? Not int, also not integer with small letter, but we need to have the integer with big letter. And also, if we use double, we need to use double with big D, not double, because it is different. In this case, I'm going to use integer, and I'm going to add the element 10, I'm going to add element 15, I'm going to add element 20, I'm going to add element 25. Now, I have a for each loop. We call it, this is for each loop. For integer I, which is in the variable my numbers, print I. And I will print the elements that has been added into the variable my numbers. 10, 15, 20, 21. 10, 15, 20, 21. Okay. Okay, this is the end of this PowerPoint. We learn about array, how to pass the array in the methods, and we learn about the multi-dimensional array, and we learn about array list.